So moving into some of the information that we've gathered, I did want to start initially with a couple slides here. And one of the key goals of this project was to try to articulate the economic value of tourism in Tofino. And over the years, the community has tracked, the province has tracked the room revenue, and it sits at about $33.3 million of room revenue in 2012 for Tofino. And that's grown quite a bit. From 2002. We don't have stats from before that, and we do know that tourism started in Tofino much before 2002, but that we have stats going back to 2002, and that number increased and peaked at about 2007, and then slowly kind of decreased up to 2012, though it looks like 2013 looks like a positive year where it looks like the trend is actually moving back up again. So hopefully that bodes well for future years. And we've put the red marks on that chart indicate the room revenue in Ucluelet as well, just to give a sense of how those room revenues have changed. And they followed a similar pattern to Tofino, though from 2007 to 2008, they increased about, 2007, 2008, they increased all the way up to 2012, growing by approximately 50% from 2007 to 2012. So just to give you a sense, I know Ucluelet has many attractions there. Many people just go and spend time in Ucluelet, but as we found through this research so far, a lot of folks that go to Tofino and Ucluelet tend to swap communities and go back and forth and do visit each other's places. So you know, there could be an element of folks going to Ucluelet at peak times of the year and staying there while also visiting, you know, the Long Beach unit of Parks Canada, as well as coming into Tofino. The overall room revenue trend for both communities is relatively stable, though because of the sizable amount made up by Tofino, that number did drop as well from 2007 to 2012. When you look at broader than just room revenue, we try to look at the total amount of tourism spending, and there's no one way of really calculating this. There's a couple of different methods. Parks Canada's Long Beach unit has visitor surveys where they ask about spending. The province estimates total spending. And so looking at those two approaches and just working out Tofino's share of the provincial tourism spending based on the room revenue, the relative amount of room revenue it has for the province, we end up getting a kind of about $250 to $350 million in tourism spending as a result of folks coming to Tofino. There's a bit of a range there. Like, again, it's hard to get an exact number there. Using the Parks Canada surveys, a little bit lower, using a proportion of the provincial tourism revenue, a little bit higher. So, but you know, it's a significant amount. You know, represents about 2.2% of provincial tourism spending, and that's out of all the resort municipalities, and there's 14 of those. Tofino represents essentially the second largest amount of spending, followed by Whistler. Whistler represents just over $1 billion, though, just for comparisons. So it's a significant amount of value to the community and to the province. And you know, along with that comes you know, taxes from labor and from spending as well. Breaking it down more specifically into jobs, using the Census Canada results from 2006. Unfortunately, the 2011 data doesn't include industry breakouts for communities the size of Tofino due to the change in the way the census is calculated. Actually, it's not a census anymore for jobs. It's a survey, and so that data isn't available for communities the size of Tofino. But when you look at the last census, that locally, you know, there are about 600 jobs related pretty closely to tourism, either right in tourism or quite close to tourism. Note that these numbers don't include tourism jobs from folks living in Ucluelet, and we know there are people that live in Ucluelet and commute to the Tofino area, but about 600 jobs. And when you break that out, again, looking at the amount of jobs, you know, based on the overall spending in Tofino, it actually results in about 1,800 to 2,400 full-time equivalent jobs based on the tourism spending in industry in Tofino. As you know, these numbers are quite a bit different. Obviously, 600 to 2,400. There's a couple of reasons why. One, the census is done in May, so as you know, there's a lot of seasonal residents that make it to Tofino in the summer that just aren't there in May when census is completed. But the 1,800 to 2,400 also includes some other folks who may be servicing Tofino tourists and visitors, but live in other locations as well. So it's about 1,800 to 2,400 full-time equivalent jobs on an annual basis, and that's a pretty significant number. So again, tourism does make up a pretty significant amount of the economy in Tofino, and a good number of jobs are directly related to tourism in Tofino.